Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm grateful to have you here for a Fandom Friday video. Today, well, it's actually Saturday when this goes up because I wanted it to coordinate with the release of new Kindred Stamps products like the Dino Origins and Jeans stamp set. I did already stamp and color my images before recording today. I am going to be creating an interactive card, and I didn't want my video to be 30 minutes long today. I'm still trying to balance travel and life and all the things, so I'm going to keep it to creating the interactive project for today's video. I'm going to be using two of the images from the Dino Origin stamp set. I have my raincoat wearing shaving cream holding character, and I'm going to be using the Dilophosaurus, I hope I said that correctly, dinosaur, and I'm going to start with creating my background. I'm using the jungle scene die from Kindred and some dark green cardstock. I'll go ahead and punch out all of the extra pieces, and that is going to be an A2 size die. So I have this to be the foreground of my background, and it will cover my A2 card base just perfectly. And I want to create an ink blended background behind this jungle scene. So the scene that I'm recreating on this card is at night, and I want to create a darker scene. That's why I used a darker green for my jungle. I didn't try to do any layering with browns to create wood on the trees. I just wanted it to be a dark green backdrop. I also wanted to make sure I had plenty of room for my interactive part. I'm going to be using the pull and slide die. So I'm going to go ahead and just get the slot that I need to die cut just ready to go on that green piece. And then I will work on creating my background. Again, this is an A2 card, so I've trimmed down a piece of white cardstock that is A2 in size as well, which is 4¼ by 5½. And I used the green jungle scene to get an idea of where I want my grass stencil to go. I'm going to go ahead and get this stencil put in place with some low tack tape, and I'm going to pick up my desk a little bit. I had too much clutter and it was getting a little overwhelming. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this tape, pick up my dies, move my stencils, and then I'm going to grab 3 different colors of Distress Oxide inks and some Dome Foam blenders. I'm going to start with a blue color. This is a dark blue chipped sapphire. And I'm going with the, I guess, negative, the smaller inside piece of my grassy portion of the stencil. And I'm just adding that blue through the different blades of the grass. And then I brought in my next color, which is Villainous Potion, and I blended that in between just moving my dark sky upwards and blended it in with the blue. My last color that I'm using is Black Soot. I'm going to completely cover the rest of the panel and try to blend that back and forth with my Villainous Potion. I'm trying to create a, evening sky between the blue, the purple, and the black. Doesn't need to be a super duper perfect blend because I'm going to cover a lot of it with that jungle scene, but I wanted to give some element that it's a night sky by adding some white paint splatter to create stars. It's also raining in this scene in the movie, so I wanted to flick on some just water on its own, although I will say I used this brush for an earlier project with my white splatter, so those clear drops are a little bit gray just because there was some excess white ink on my paintbrush. But then I picked up some white ink, mixed it into that water, and splattered that on as well to create that starry, rainy sky background. I'm going to use my little cloth here just to pick up the excess ink and pick up my ink on the desk. And then I'm going to use the larger stencil to now cover the sky that I blended so I can add in my grass. I'm going to use just a sheet of paper and my magnets to block the sky that I already ink blended so I don't get green where I don't want it. And for the grass, I'm using pine needles and black soot. And I'm just going to repeat that process. I'm using the green Dome Foam blender to add in the grass through the stencil. And then I will fill in the rest of the bottom portion of my panel, again with the green, and then I'm going to bring in black soot just to darken it up. Again, it's a night scene. I'm using a dark green cardstock, so while I do want a green grass, I want it to be a deeper green. So I'm going to blend in some of that black soot and just repeat the process that I did for the top of my card on the bottom of my card to create a dark background. Now that that's done, I'm going to do some die cutting. I'm going to layer these together, which I know can seem a little scary. It will flatten out the design of my green cardstock just a little bit because I'm running it through my die cut machine, and that pressure will take away some of the depth and dimension, but I'm okay with that. It still looks really cool. When you look at the card, you could still see the details of the trees and the rest of the jungle scene. But I die cut that slot through both layers, so the green cardstock and my inked background, so that way I can run my pull tab mechanism through both layers. I'm going to die cut a bunch of different pieces here. So I have the long pull tab portion, and that's going to fold and go through the slot. And then same with this kind of rectangular piece. This is the stabilizer for the pull tab. I'm going to die cut both of those out of some green cardstock, the same cardstock that I use for my jungle scene die. And I'm going to wrap this piece together. So I'm adding liquid adhesive just to the tab part and then folding that little stabilizer loop together. I'm making sure that it fits on the pull tab. It can move very easily. And now I am going to glue my two layers together. You can see some of that green grass that got really pressed into the back of my jungle scene. But I'm going to use liquid adhesive and glue these two layers together, making sure that the slot is lined up. Now, I intended to glue this after I did my next die cut piece, but I think it turned out fine. You could do this either way, but I do need to die cut the slot of where my pull tab is going to be pulled. So now I want to make sure I know exactly where that piece will go. So I'm folding together the pull tab mechanism, creating my little circle that will attach to my dinosaur that will move left to right on my card. But I'm doing this to make sure I know exactly where I need that slot to go to be able to pull on the pull tab. I find it easier to pull it as far out as possible. It just gives less of a chance that my pull tab is going to wiggle around. I'm making sure it's straight, and then I'm going to line up that slot piece to the edge of my A2 background here. I'm going to use some tape to hold that in place. I'll pull out the pull tab mechanism, and I'm going to run that background through my die cutting machine, and that cut out the little slot. So now I can really start layering and gluing everything together. So I'm going to add my stabilizer piece. I probably should have put it onto the pull tab before putting the glue, but that's okay. I'm going to put my pull tab back in place inside of the slot, and then I'm going to slide, sorry I'm off camera a bit here, but I'm going to slide the stabilizer piece onto the pull tab, and I'm going to glue it pretty close to where the opening, that slot is, of where I'm going to pull on the pull tab. So that way it keeps my little pull tab piece here stabilized and in place as I pull it left to right. It won't wiggle around. Now that that is in place, I'm going to die cut the little arrow tab that comes with the die set out of the same green cardstock, going for a tone-on-tone look here, and I'm going to glue that onto the pull tab. There is an arrow in the design, so the card receiver should know that this is where you want to pull out, and that's what's going to activate my pull tab mechanism. So now that that's all in place, we're going to get the card base ready. Now I will say I made one mistake here. I really wanted to add in the slot piece, that die cut out of my panels, to like fill in the backside when I pull the pull tab, because when you pull the pull tab, you'll see here in a moment, it's going to show the white card base. So before doing this step, I recommend gluing in the little excess piece, and I'm going to show you how I fix that. But I added foam adhesive all around the card, making sure it didn't interrupt my pull tab mechanism in any way, and attached it to my card base. So you can see when I pull it, there's that weird white slot. So I'm going to very carefully, and thank goodness I only ripped my panel just a teeny tiny bit, but I'm going to slowly pull off my background and try to get that piece glued in place. Luckily, I didn't have too much of an issue getting it in place. I tried shoving it through the slot, but it kept getting lost. So again, very carefully pulling up my background. I'm going to add liquid adhesive to this little slot piece and use my tweezers to get that in place. But if you were smarter, or if you're watching this video before you make a card like this, layer the die cut piece just onto the card base, don't glue it down, and then glue that little skinny piece in place using the slot as a guide. So that way you know it will be adhered to the card base and it will be in the right spot, and then add your foam adhesive and glue this down. Or even if you added your foam adhesive first, just don't attach it to the card base. Make sure you have everything glued to that card base before you sandwich it closed. But I was able to get it in there. It's not really necessary, but I think it just helps keep the scene looking consistent and not this bright white little piece exposed when you pull on the pull tab. Now I'm going to start adding my character since my card base and my pull tab mechanism are ready. So I'm adding some liquid glue to the pull tab, the part that is exposed on the card, and I'm gluing that to my dinosaur's head. I'm going to use a magnet to keep that in place while I add foam adhesive to the back side of my guy here with the shaving cream. Here's where my card ripped a little. I'm just using a little liquid adhesive and you can't even tell, thank goodness. But yeah, I'm going to get back to adding foam adhesive now to the back of my character. I'll pull off all of the release paper and then we're going to attach him to the card. I'm using foam adhesive because I wanted a little bit of dimension on him, and that's so when I slide the dinosaur, it doesn't get stuck. It kind of slides behind his shaving cream hand just a little bit. So it's turning out pretty awesome. I'm really loving how this card is coming together, but I wanted to stamp a sentiment on the card. So I'm going to grab my sentiment. It says, I it says I don't know what I'd do without you, but instead of don't know, it's Dino. So I Dino what I'd do without you. And I want to emboss it on the same dark green cardstock. So I used some anti-static powder, stamped it in a clear embossing ink, and I'm using an ultra fine white embossing powder. And I will go ahead and heat up the embossing powder with my heat gun. Once it's cooled down, I'm just using a Swiffer cloth to pick up the excess anti-static powder, and I'm going to use my scissors, sorry I'm a little off camera here, to fussy cut around the sentiment. I added some foam adhesive, the same thickness as what I have for my character at the bottom of the card, and I decided to add it to the top left. It felt like it just kind of balanced out the card. Here's a final look at how my pull tab Dino origin scene has turned out. I love that my dinosaur kind of sneaks up on my character here with the pull tab. I hope it inspired you to use these products and make an interactive card as well. But let's do a close-up look at all of my cards from today's release. This is the little tiny jeans stamp set. It has this element, I don't know what to call him without actually saying what he is on the card. And I used the dragon scale stencil for the background. I have a box card featuring some more stamps from the Dino Origin stamp set, and I used the entrance gate die set to decorate the card as well. And I used the grass scene die too. This is probably my favorite card with this character. I used the Safari car die set and I stamped Love Finds a Way on the front. I did use the dinosaur in the background to create a pattern for the craft cardstock. But I hope you enjoy all of these cards. Check out the latest release from Kindred Stamps. I hope you're as excited about it as I am. It's such a great release. Let me know which card is your favorite down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!